very same things we've asked of Jesus Christ, Islam cannot answer about Muhammad. The very same thing we asked about Jerusalem, they can't answer about Mecca. I said, Mecca? What do you mean Mecca? Oh, you didn't know about Mecca? I said, no, what are you talking about? There is no reference to Mecca. I said, there's no reference. Yeah, Dr. Patricia Corona found that. I said, who's Dr. Patricia Corona? Now, it was like, and as I'm having this discussion with, now it didn't happen all in one day. It happened over about a period of 2 weeks, because everything he kept on coming up with, like he said, did you know the Dome of the Rock has no Qibla? I said, wait a minute. The largest structure of its day, the most resplendent building, it's beautiful there, has that golden dome. I said, no. Hold on a minute. That golden dome is not original. I said, it isn't? I said, wasn't that built by Abdul Malik in 691? He says, yeah, but it didn't look like that. I said, what do you mean? He said, look at your history. That's been destroyed and rebuilt 11 times. The only original part, he said, is the inner ambulatories. Those 2 ambulatories, they're inside. He said, but even that doesn't have a Qibla. I said, how can it not have a Qibla? It's the 3rd most holy shrine in Islam. It's where all the Muslims believe why they want Jerusalem back, because that's where all the Muslims believe. Muhammad went in the middle of the night, called the Miraj, and he went up on the back of the winged horse called the Burak, and he flies up from Mecca up to Jerusalem, and he ascends the 7 heavens. I said, that story's got to be there. He says, okay, see if you can find it. Look at the inner ambulatory, the only original part. Look at the inscriptions there and see if you can find it. So as I'm having this kind of debate with him, it was fun. And you could see he was enjoying it, but the other students weren't. Suddenly, I noticed that one after another of these Muslim students started getting up, walking to the door, and slamming the door. Ooh, I don't know what that thing's doing up there right there. My computer loves it. My computer listens to me all the time, and it puts up a one. You'll see some balloons go up after a little while. And so here they start slamming the door and yelling at Dr. Hawting, saying things that were not very pleasant as they left. They were leaving the class. Why? Because they had never heard this material before. It wasn't just me that had not heard it. They had never heard it. And they knew how damaging this was. And they could not sit under that. They couldn't come up. They were quiet. Some of them, once at the very beginning, someone said, "Sir, you've got your dates wrong." And he says, "No, these are not my dates. These are your dates. Go up on Wikipedia, go up on Britannica Encyclopedia, and look at the dates for these guys. Ibn Hisham, Al-Waqidi, Sahih Muslim. Look and see what their dates are." He says, they're all there. It's just that you haven't been taught this, because you're not taught this in your Islamic schools. So as I was watching this, I said, wow, this is amazing. I've got to take this down. I've got to try it out. Now, remember, from 1992, I was up down at Speaker's Corner every day. I was not up on a ladder. I was always on the ground. I didn't know how to do a ladder. Olin, are we taught to do this in seminary or Bible school, how to get up on a ladder and preach? No. We're taught to do 20-minute sermons, and people listen to us, right? Yeah. They listen to us, they talk, and they they may applaud us, but at least they don't heckle us, and they don't get up and walk away because of what we're saying. But we don't
even do a Q&A.
Yep. Homiletics. You're taught how to take an idea, source it in Scripture, apply it using 3 different applications, and then you let them go back to their dinner. And you better keep it to 20 minutes, otherwise you're going to have a lot of people sleeping on you. So we're not taught how to get up on a ladder and take on and engage in a volatile situation, a very hostile situation where they're going to yell at you and maybe throw some few punches if they don't like what you're saying. That is what Speaker's Corner was like in the 1990s. It's not like that today anymore. Not since 9/11. Since 9/11, everything changed. And the narrative became, we are people of peace. It's a religion of peace. But before that, it was not. So back then, in 1993, 94, I was going down, and I heard this stuff in 1994. I decided to take it down to Speaker's Corner. On the ground, wow, goodness sakes, I got punched. I had my glasses broken. These people were, these Muslims didn't know how to answer it. And so they used fists to answer me. And I realized this is amazing. But unbeknownst to me, someone was filming me. Well, there are lots of cameras. And back then, you didn't have smartphones. You had these big lumping cameras you put on your shoulder back in the 1990s. And there was no internet. And so these were these big VHS cameras. Remember the VHS? You got gray hair. You know what I'm talking about. Anybody that doesn't have won't know what we're talking about. These big boxes where you with two spools inside, the tape that go across. Well, they were filming me, and they were selling this film in some of the bookstores, these Muslim bookstores there in London. And one of the students in our class found this. It was on the front, as he went in, it was being displayed in the window, and he went and bought it, and he gave it to Dr. Gerald Haunting with me using his material at Speaker's Corner. And he called me into his office. He was angry, and he gave me about a 10-minute diatribe against what I was doing. He really, really wailed into me. And he said, don't you ever do this again. How dare you take what I'm teaching you and use it at Speaker's Corner? The last place on earth you should be using it. And I said, hold on, wait a minute, Dr. Haunting. You're teaching this material. I'm your student. Once you teach it to me, it no longer belongs to you. Once you give me a lecture, I am free to do with it whatever I want. I can even plagiarize you, though I would be caught out for plagiarism, but I'm not plagiarizing you. I'm saying who you are. He said, you're giving my name? I said, yes. Don't you ever give my, well, then what? Who am I supposed to give? He said, do you realize how dangerous this is? I said, yes, this is exciting. Of course it's dangerous. It's exactly what we need. And he says, you may get me killed. I said, hold on. Stop and think what you're saying. You're not down at Speaker's Corner introducing this. I am.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's going to get killed, not you. I'm the one that's getting punched in the face, not you. If anything, I'm putting my life on the line for you. And I'm field testing your material in the most volatile environment, the best environment to hear peer review. You want peer review? I'm getting you peer review within seconds. You have to wait 6 months. If you write a book on this material, you have to write 6 months to a year before you get a first article that reviews what you're saying. And most of those will be benign because they're done by other academics, because only academics listen to you. I'm taking it down to the street where it belongs. I'm taking it out to where people need to hear this. I'm going to the place where you're going to get the most reaction, the best reaction. And it is volatile. I agree, it is volatile. But I'm doing you a favor, because I'm field testing and see what are the material that works, what doesn't work. And I'm coming back every week, and I'm telling you, this doesn't work. Here's a question I ask: how do you answer this? Have you noticed? That's why I'm asking, put up my hand all the time. But see, the gears started going in his mind, and he was saying, hold on a minute. I'm losing all my students. And I get paid depending on how many students I have in a class. I could see his dilemma. More than that, these students are starting to go to the higher ups, and they're saying, this man is lying. You need to stop. This is all trash. This is Islamophobia.
Yeah.
That's when Islamophobia started being introduced. It wasn't that early, actually. It came later on. But they said, this is hate speech, is what they were saying. And he was getting calls from his supervisor saying, you need to tone this down. Well, what he knew that it wasn't he that needed to tone it down. It was me that needed to tone it down. I was his problem, because I was the one that was raising my hand and telling him to come to conclusions. And he did not want to come to the, it came to the point where anytime he said something new and I raised my hand, he said, I'm not going to answer that. You can come to your own conclusions. He would not come to conclusions because he saw what was happening. Within 2 weeks, every Muslim except for 2 had left. Only Muslims stayed for the whole year. All the other Muslims had left, and he left. He lost half his class because of this material, and also because of me. I'm sure I had something to do with it, because I kept on putting my hand up there saying, you've got to come to conclusion. Help me with this. This doesn't make sense. I've never heard this before, and neither had anybody else. This was also new. So that was 1995. And that's when I got beat up really bad at Speaker's Corner, so bad that I was unconscious. A black man put himself over top of me and took the blows for me. And when the police finally pulled me out, they said, don't you ever do that again. You need to get on a ladder. And from that point on, from 1995, I had to be on a ladder, and for my safety, right, my own safety.